1 week after Hurricane Ian made landfall in South Florida, President Biden is touring damage.
Today, we have one job and only one job, and that's to make sure the people of Florida get everything that they need to thoroughly recover.
The president says he is there to assure Floridians that the federal government is behind them.
So the president wants to assure South Floridians that the federal government is behind them. Doesn't that sound great? It sounds great, doesn't it?
Our election is only a few weeks away, but it might as well be years away for some of those here in Fort Myers Beach. They're not thinking about casting a ballot. Instead, they're thinking about survival.
So the hurricane hits and all of a sudden these people are thinking about survival. I mean, what else are they supposed to be thinking about, right? But, you know, the purpose of this is to get to maybe the deeper side of things so that we can see that perhaps things aren't what they seem to be. And everything is for a reason. Even something like hurricane season being late summer transitioning into fall. Everything is by design. Even that's something to think about before we just take it as something that's a natural, like something that happens naturally.
William Waters is trudging through what remains of his Fort Myers Beach home after Ian's storm surge trashed the place.
That's how high the water was, about 6 feet.
Almost everything here is soaked, broken, or missing. He's now one of the many victims searching for help from state and federal authorities.
He is now one of the many people searching for help from state and local authorities. Of course he is. Why wouldn't he?
The president also toured damaged coastal homes and businesses by air and later met with impacted Floridians before a brief press conference. It's not about who's in power, but who has the power to help.
We're on survival mode here. You know, we're not really getting political or anything like that. It's friends helping out friends right now, and, you know, as it should be.
So this guy says he's not thinking about political party right now. He's thinking about survival. And he's looking to whoever can help him, meaning whichever political party, whoever in the government can help his situation, because we see what happened to his home from Hurricane Ian. Now, I think it's important to look at the situation for what it is and just to see if there's something deeper behind this. Because, I mean, when I think about it, I think about the fact that Hurricane Ian so happened to hit Naples, or like Central Florida, Naples, Fort Myers, places like that, Central Florida, which is where typically people vote Republican, which is where typically people say, you know, this is where white supremacists, maybe it's true, they say this is where white supremacists and people who, you know, are prone to be racist in their thinking, this is where they live, this is their area. You know, I found it very interesting. Like, for example, there was a black person talking about their hurricane. I was like, I'm not really following Hurricane Ian. I'm not really into that. And he was like, oh, I'm following. And just by like his demeanor and his attitude, I can see that in his mind, he was like, yes, you know, this hurricane is hitting it's hitting the right place. You know, it's hitting this place where all these racist people are, where all these Republicans are. Yes, if I want to put myself in those shoes, I can understand where this person is coming from. Not saying that it's right. And then you have, you know, these Republican, you know, white people who are more prone to be conservative in the way they vote and their policies, the policies that they support and things like that. They're the ones who were hit. So it's like, it seems like there's one side winning and the other side is losing, but it's really a lose-lose situation if you think about it, because I mean, what is there to cheer about? Both people are being played in this situation. Knowing that, you know, weather manipulation may be a thing, which is, I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Knowing that weather manipulation is a thing, this person will say, yes, they hit the right spot this time. You know, but at the same time, it's like, what do you gain from that? You don't gain anything from that except for something symbolic that like appeases the ego, that makes you feel like it's you for once, you know, which I guess I can see where that person may be coming from, but you really gain nothing from it except you may feel like these people are getting what they so-called deserve. But really, it's just to benefit this system that is not really put in place to serve people. It's put in place to abuse people, to manipulate people, to cause destruction in people's lives if that's gonna lead to a means of them getting what they want out of people, and that's completely wrong. I feel like I'm justified in saying this because I understand that, you know, everything is not what it seems, and there are a lot of weapons of destruction people unleash on society for their own sake. When I say people, I'm talking about people in high places for their own sake and their own benefit. And we think it's just something surface. We think, oh, hurricane season, that's, you know, late summer going into early fall. Like, we think it's just like a thing. But, you know, something like that can easily be designed, just as Christmas is designed to be in December. That's the date they set for that holiday. Or Easter is designed to be in April. It's like all of these things are well calculated, and you shouldn't be surprised if something like hurricane season is also something that's very well calculated and put in place to serve a purpose. And when you think of the purpose, it could be a purpose like, okay, November, we want people to go to these polls, so now we're going to manipulate things to have things go the way that we want it to go. And depending on who's in power at the moment, these people get a say in where, you know, where these events take place. Like, for example, I think about Hurricane Katrina. I mean, if you think about it, what neighborhoods got mostly impacted? Like, what area got mostly impacted by this, you know, catastrophic event? Like, who got impacted the most? And think about who was in power at the time. Now you think about something like Hurricane Ian. Like, who's in power? Like, who do you think they're gonna hit? You think they're gonna hit a black community if they're promising the black community that they're gonna do all this and that, and we're so-called in alliance with them? Of course not. They're gonna do something symbolic. That's not only symbolic, that's gonna win our favor, you know, and have somebody saying, yes, they hit the right place. Yeah, I've been following Hurricane Ian. It's, yeah, those white people. No, it's also something where it's like a win-win for them, because they also get people like this guy who you just saw in the video who are going to be like, you know, we're desperate. We don't care who we vote for at this point. I'm going to vote for whoever's going to get me out of my situation and help me out. And that's what it's about. Unfortunately, everyday people, day-to-day people have to suffer in this process. And we think that, you know, dispute about race amongst each other is going to be something that, or we think that that's something that's important and that's like a real fight. But it's like there are unseen things happening and things that are orchestrated just to use us as a means to their end. That's where I'm getting at with it. And it's like, if you think what I'm saying sounds up in the air, if you think that it's not concrete, it's not based in reality, then you should watch these videos, these video clips that are going to follow, that'll kind of explain a little bit more what I'm talking about as far as weather control, weather manipulation.
Controlling the weather is the ultimate superweapon. It's even more powerful than the atomic bomb.
Weather as a weapon? There are some who think the idea is not as preposterous as it seems, especially when considering that even today, many world governments are pouring millions of dollars into research designed to manipulate weather.
Out in the middle of nowhere sits a forest of antennae, causing earthquakes and tsunamis, unimaginable chaos and ruin. We're looking at the HAARP research facility situated in Alaska, USA. So, what exactly is the HARP project? HARP is an acronym for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Its objective is to study the highest portions of the Earth's atmosphere. HARP sends high-frequency radio waves to the ionosphere. These radio waves heat electrons at altitudes above 60 kilometers. Then, scientists study the resulting perturbations in the ionosphere. The aim is to improve communication and navigation systems. HARP was managed by the US Air Force and Navy from 1990 to 2014. In 2015, the facility was handed over to University of Alaska Fairbanks. While HARP has not responded specifically to earthquake claims, it has responded to weather manipulation theories. Conspiracy theorists have linked the HARP project to earthquakes and tsunamis all over the globe. Calamities blamed on HARP by conspiracy theorists include the Haiti earthquake, which struck on 12th January 2010. The magnitude 7 earthquake killed over 3 lakh people. The Japan earthquake and tsunami of March 2011 have also been linked to HARP. The magnitude 9 quake killed over 18,000 people. The Chile earthquake and tsunami of February 2010 were also caused by HARP, according to some accounts. The 8.8 magnitude Temblor caused over 500 deaths. A massive landslide in Philippines in 2006 has also been linked to HARP. It had killed more than 1,000 people. Even some world leaders have openly propagated these claims. In 2010, then President of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, said recent floods in Pakistan had been caused by the HARP project's electromagnetic waves. He also accused European nations of draining rain clouds before they could reach Iran, causing water shortages in the Asian country. In the same year, then President of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, said a tectonic weapon being tested by America had caused the deadly Haiti earthquake. Chavez claimed that it was just a test run before America uses the weapon on Iran.
I think weather modification has definitely been an ongoing endeavor of governments all over the world for decades.
I would be looking at how much can I control or change local pressures in the atmosphere near and around the tornado.
These are forces at work that could wipe out major cities. And we're finding out every day new things that we've never seen before.
The most concern by far is HARP's ability to tamper with and punch holes in the ionosphere.
The thing that one of the Air Force documents points out is that they want to use this heater to create enough energy in the ionosphere to get a runaway effect up to the next stabilizing level, whatever that might be.
It's precisely whatever that might be that worries Dr. Patrick Flanagan, a physicist who believes the ionosphere is extremely fragile.
The ionosphere is a chaotic system that is on the edge of instability. So the trigger point for HARP would be that energy and that frequency which throws the ionosphere into chaos. In other words, it would be that point which throws it over the edge.
For example, it is believed that a hole in the Earth's ozone layer has caused an increase in infrared radiation, contributing to the melting of the polar ice caps and forcing New Zealand children to wear protective clothing to school. Flanagan and others believe the potential danger from a hole in the ionosphere is much greater.
It could create a change in the ionospheric shield that protects us from cosmic radiation. We're worried about the ozone layer. The ozone layer is nothing compared to what HARP could do. You know, we're worried about ultraviolet light. That's just a very harmless ray compared to some of those energy streams or particles that are coming from outer space that are being deflected by this natural shield around the Earth. And this is what HARP wants to play with.
Critics worry that HARP has been placed in the hands of too few, and that international debate is necessary to fully explore all the potential dangers that this project may soon unleash, a proposal in which the Air Force has shown little interest to date.
Once we open this box, and it is a veritable Pandora's box, we're not going to be able to close it. And of course, once you acquire a technology, you want bigger and better. aspects of it. And then we come into the questions of whether or not, if we go big, if we go better, if we're going to cause damage to our planet.
Cloud seeding is the most common type of weather modification, and it has many different techniques and applications. Today, it's mostly used to increase rain and snowfall, reduce the size of hail, and reduce fog at airports.
Traditionally, cloud seeding has been done from the air. So airplanes have had racks on them where these same flares are positioned on the airplane, and the airplane flies into the storm.
You could fire a laser at the sky and make it rain. Oh, that sounds more interesting. Dave Malkoff explains.
Just another stormy, wet afternoon in Central Florida. But what if you could pick up all this rain and move it where it's needed? Texas or California? What if a laser could start the rain?
So you can almost use it to set it off.
Matt Mills got into lasers as a kid. He's part of a team of scientists and military backers on the cutting edge of a new technology, making lasers powerful enough to reach up here into the sky where a thunderstorm is just about to start. In the near future, a push-button storm starter could be a real thing.
Just imagining this situation. If there was a rain cloud that was going to pass over an area of drought and not rain, you could, theoretically induce the rain and get the rain where it's needed.
That storm starter isn't the laser beam itself, but rather a popping energy that comes off of much higher power beams than this one. The problem is those pops have always had trouble getting into the sky. Now Matt has discovered a way to get the laser to pop all the way in the clouds. In theory, that's what starts a storm. We created a cloud of our own behind Matt's lab. A few months ago, Matt's colleagues in Arizona got this working experimentally. The next step is to get it to work in the sky.
The particles in the air are rubbing together, forming static electricity, and the conditions are now right, and they just need to be triggered now.
Does this concern you that you may be messing with Mother Nature and doing something that you don't completely understand up here in the cloud?
I mean, I suppose that's always a danger, but we're not even near to the case where it could be dangerous yet, so not too much.
It's almost like an on-off switch for a thunderstorm.
That's the idea behind it.
Right here in the cloud.
Yep.
In Orlando.
The weapon of weather manipulation, it may seem like something that's like up in the air or something that's just a conspiracy theory. I mean, when people say conspiracy theory, to be honest with you, most of the time it's because they want to hide something. When it comes to the media or the news outlets and where we get most of our information, these things are owned by, I think it's 5 mass corporations. So of course it's not in their advantage to give you all of the true information, because then what happens, some of their industries take a hit. And why would they let you in on their strategy if they have a strategy to use and manipulate you? Certain programs that are in place, operations put in place, systems put in place, or whatever you want to call it, events orchestrated so that they can use us as a means to get whatever done as far as political, maybe it's a political strategy, you don't know, maybe they just want to get some votes out of you. What advantage do they have in telling you what's going on? There's no advantage, there's no incentive for them to be like, this is our plan, this is what we're trying to do, this is what we do with the weather. A handful of corporations that own all the major media outlets, they own practically everything, and everything is under their umbrella. So it's not in their benefit to tell you what's going on. It's not in their benefit to fill you in on the details that are most important to your life. The details that can, help you to really be aware of something like a hurricane that you think is just random and this is just what happens during this season, when it's something very well thought out, very well planned, so that they can use you as a means to an end. That end may be votes, it may be some, aftermath from a political strategy, it may be for, a test run. They want to use, location as a test run so that they can accomplish something else somewhere else. It's like you don't know, but it's good to know that these things exist and that this is actually happening. And I'm bringing this up at this point in the series of videos that I just showed you. Now that you've just seen this previous video with the with these young kids and the laser machine thing that they're putting together. It's like, if these kids, or if this young guy, these young guys, if they didn't see this as, if they didn't see a gap in the market, or if they didn't see this as something that's profitable, if they didn't see that there's a demand for it, they would not try to capitalize off of something like this. There would be no reason to even waste the time to try to make it something that's marketable. So, I mean, I think we should take that into consideration before we start to say that, okay, these are just conspiracy theories. You know, these are stuff that, you know, people talk about that's not real, because you think it's not real because it's not in the advantage of these few corporations that run everything and own everything. It's not in their advantage for you to know. That's why it's not mainstream. There's no benefit, or else they don't accomplish what they want to accomplish when they unleash weapons of weather manipulation and stuff like that. I don't even know if that's something to say, like weapons of weather manipulation. But when they do stuff like that, there'd be no, you know, they wouldn't be able to accomplish what they want to accomplish if you were in on it.
In the 20th century, clouds were seeded by numerous countries around the globe with various chemicals to produce rain. China was just doing this over the summer in Beijing to make sure that there weren't any rain, that there wasn't any rain during the Olympics. But all this has changed dramatically with the U.S. military's secretive research and plans to control the planet's natural weather. This has not been given very much press, and we have to remember that we have a corporate-owned press where 85% of radio, television, and print media is owned by 5 corporations. So they're not going to talk about things that are of really serious consequence, and that's somewhat of the blessing, a mixed blessing of the internet, but there's certainly plenty of information on weather modification. The Air Force is on record as saying, quote, they want to control the weather by 2025, and we are not talking about just seeding the clouds for rain. Weather modification means, quote, any activity performed with the intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior, or dynamics of the atmosphere, unquote. And as of April this year, there are more than 150 different weather modification programs around the world.
There is the ionospheric research facility at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. Then there's the defunct ionospheric research station in Kharkiv, Ukraine. There's also an ionospheric heating and shortwave radar facility in Tromsø, Norway.
And from what you just saw, I think we should stop saying that things like weather manipulation are just a conspiracy theory, because if it was something that wasn't real, there was no value to it, there was no purpose for it, there'd be no reason for them to develop different types, you know, of the same, or like different types of this thing that achieves the same result, basically. There'd be no need to do something like that, you know? They'd experiment with it one time and just leave it there. If it wasn't something that was of use, they wouldn't waste the time, they wouldn't waste the resources. Even when, like earlier in the video, it mentioned that China has spent millions and billions of dollars into developing their own weather manipulation tools and weather manipulation projects. It's like these people who run these countries, they're not stupid. Nobody's gonna pour millions and billions of dollars into a project if it's not profitable, if there's nothing to gain from it, and if the research didn't prove that they can reach an end that's going to benefit them in some way. Nobody's going to waste that amount of time. So if it's just a conspiracy theory, why would these countries waste so much money into the research, into the development of these programs? They wouldn't do such a thing. My point in bringing this up is not just to shed a light on weather manipulation just for the sake of it, because that information is out there, and if you want it, you can find it. My purpose of bringing this to light and bringing this to you today is to really show you that, as you can see in the previous videos, that everybody's going through it out here. You know, when people say, oh, we're in it together and things like that, it sounds cliche. It sounds like, I don't know, it sounds unrealistic, but the reality is that's exactly what it is. Like, no matter who you are, as far as what's being done to us on a higher level, the programs like weather manipulation that these people just unleash on society when they want to get you to the polls, or when, you know, they want to test something out before they go to war with someone else or something like that. It's like, everybody goes through things like that. We all have to face the repercussions of these things. Like, I remember when I was younger, I had to go through, at one point, in Miami, Hurricane Wilma hit us so hard, we didn't have power for like weeks. And, you know, like we had property damage and all sorts of things. Like, people, like, everybody goes through these things. We all have to face the repercussions of these things. So like, if we see, like, right now, a place like Central Florida gets hit by a hurricane, it's not something to say like, oh yeah, they hit the right place. You know, they hit this this predominantly white neighborhood that would vote most likely Republican. It's like, there's no use in thinking like that, because everybody's getting affected by these things. At one point, our communities were getting hit the most with things like hurricanes, especially earthquakes. Like, me as a Haitian, like, we've gone through 2 earthquakes. Like, those earthquakes are not by accident. I just feel like we need to look deeper. We need to look more deep into things and not just take everything for face value, because everything is not what you think it is. Nothing on a political level is simple. They simplify, I don't want to say they simplify things and like send it out to us through the media, but they literally distort reality. They hide information from you, and we just take what they tell us, and we think that because it's what we see, that's what reality is. But reality is, just because you don't see something does not mean that this thing does not exist, and it does not mean that it's not affecting you. I mean, it could be affecting a predominantly white area right now. It could be affecting them right now, but then you don't know who's going to be in power in the next 2 years. Let's say the next 2 years, a different party is in power, and they decide, okay, well, we're going to start hitting black communities again. You know, it's like, we're all going through the same things, and we just have to realize reality for what it is and decide that we're not going to allow these things to happen to us anymore. We have to decide that we're not going to allow ourselves to be in a position where we have to be so desperate that, oh, I don't care what political party, even though you resonate with this political party the most because of their policies, or, you know, you believe in whatever they're selling to you. It's like, but it shouldn't be, oh, you know, I'm so desperate that I don't care who it is because I just need aid right now. You know, it shouldn't get to that point. And the fact that it gets to that point, it just shows that these people really use us, and they put us in these vulnerable positions where you don't look. It makes, you know, stuff like that makes you not look into what this administration is doing. It's like, this guy's not thinking about how corrupt this current administration is. This guy's not thinking about the things that are happening behind closed doors. He's not even thinking about the fact that the weather was manipulated for him to even think the way that he's thinking right now, to be passive about what's going on behind closed doors in this current administration. It's like, that's why it's designed that way. That's why these things go on. And what I'm trying to say is that we're all affected by this, you know? It's like, they have us so focused on the little things that don't even matter, the little things that don't even exist between us. It's like, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't give a damn if somebody's racist in Naples, or I don't care. If it's not something that's systemic, like how they love to say, like systemic racism, I can understand. Okay, that's something that you need to combat, you need to confront, we need to make sure that we uproot. That I totally understand. But I don't give a damn about somebody within the confines of their own home with some racist mentality. That has nothing to do with me. And I am not about to praise a government for manipulating the weather to hit these people hard so that they can be desperate and translate into votes. And that's not the right way to look at things, because easily the tables could shift and you're in the same position. If we're looking at things from a racial point of view, that's how we get messed up, and that's how we get played with, that's how we get manipulated, and that's how these people are able to continue to shield us from information and hide information from us and just tell us whatever they want to tell us. You know, why the hell do you see John DeSantis in this video with Joe Biden? Why do you think you see John DeSantis there right now? They want to give you an illusion that they're unifying people and that they're bringing people together because they want to distract you from what they actually stand for. It's like, we're not going to talk about what's going on behind closed doors. We're not going to talk about any real policies. We're not going to talk about anything that really affects people, anything that people should really be, you know, interested in. We're going to show them, look, we're unifying now, you know, it's all good, but, you know, there's this tragedy, you know, they're going to show you like, oh, there's this tragedy and we're going to help you. And this is how we're going to bring people together. It's like, if that's the way to do it, then I don't understand why you would participate in something like that. It's like, just flooded this guy's community. This guy probably lost half the stuff that he owns in his house. Well, not even half. He probably lost most of the things that he owns inside of the house. Everything's like in shambles. And, you know, this is the way that they see that they're going to bring people together or have people be on common ground. That is so crazy. It's like their way of putting us or bringing us on common ground is basically tearing our lives apart. Like that's so crazy to me. If this is the way to get people on one accord, to get people unified, this is not it, because this is people manipulation. They are manipulating you. They literally pinned us against each other and said that they're going to manipulate the weather and not even like give anybody anything like substantial. These Republicans in Central Florida, what exactly did they do for these people except ruin their lives and then say, oh, we're going to help you? It's like you literally put them people on their knees in a desperate situation and then tell them that, okay, I'm going to come and help you, and have them just accept whoever comes to give them some help, which is not even, it probably doesn't even amount to like all the things that this guy lost and all the things that these people lost. It's like, we can't continue to let these people play with us like that. It's like, it shouldn't, like, who cares? Who cares if like somebody doesn't like me because I'm black? I don't give a crap. Like, okay. And if it's vice versa, somebody doesn't like you because you're white, who cares? But it really makes no sense that, you know, they get to divide and conquer us like this. Like the same way that they manipulate the weather and we don't know, we think it's just hurricane season and it just so happened to hit Central Florida so that these people can say, oh, those people are white supremacists. And then they can go and pander to these white supremacists, these so-called white supremacists, and be like, hey, we just messed up your situation, but we're going to come and help you. And then for people to just be like, okay, we need the help. So, hey, we're going to take what we can get and we'll give you our support in return. You know, it's like, that's crazy. If there's anything that we have in common is the fact that everybody's being played by these people. It's like, no matter where you come from, no matter where you live on the globe, no matter where you live in this country, like everybody's being played in the same way. It's just different weapons, different methods, but it's the same end. And the end is never for our collective well-being. It's always for what can they gain by using and manipulating us. So it's like, if we don't realize that at some point, then we're just going to continue. We're just going to continue to be under these people's thumb, and they just get to do whatever they want to do with our lives. Whenever, I mean, if we have to lose everything we own for their sake, that can happen. If we have to slice each other's throat, that's just what it's going to be, as long as they get with what they want. And I don't understand how we can continue this way. Regardless of what we think, these people are here to serve us. It's like when we put these people in position, it's because they have something to offer us. We saw something valuable in what they stand for and what they said they would do and what they've delivered in the past, and we say, okay, you're the person for the job. So they're supposed to be the ones delivering something to us. We're the ones who are supposed to be receiving, not them just taking anything that they want from us and selling us these lies, pitting us against each other. All of this propaganda, all of the imagery, you know, white against black, black against white, white lives matter, black lives matter, all that stuff. It's like, it's all irrelevant to the real things that are going on that actually affect real people. And real people come in all shades. Real people come from everywhere around the globe. And real people are victim to the same thing, no matter where you come from. It's just, like I said, different weapons and different methods, but they still divide and conquer us. And that's just the way it is, I guess, until we realize that we deserve something better and that without us, they don't have their position. I mean, at the end of the day, we are all God's children. It's like, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, God wants the best for us. And God wants us to come together and realize that this is our world. This is our world that God granted to us. And if people are put in high positions, if people are put in political positions, their job is to make sure that this is the best world for us to live as God's children. It is not their job to pin us against each other. It is not their job to unleash weapons of warfare on us, no matter what those weapons are, whether it's by means of weather manipulation or just manipulation through the media and propaganda and just having us against each other. Just something that simple. It is not their right to do these things to us. It's their right to ensure that in their high positions that we put them in, on the pedestals that we put them in, they are responsible and they deliver the things that they promise, and they deliver on making sure that we live the best quality lives while we're here and while we grant them the positions that they have. So that's where I want to end this off today, and that's all I have to say.